Almost 100 years ago, in 1898, Swami Vivekananda had said, on the occasion of the consecration of Belur Math, "The power that will rise from here will flood the whole world." Today, there are about 140 centers of the Math and Mission spread all over the globe, engaged in spiritual, educational, cultural and relief work, with their headquarters at Belur Math. It has truly emerged as the hub of the movement that has left an indelible mark on humanity. Sri Ramakrishna was the first to re-emphasize in recent centuries that human beings are not sinners. They are essentially divine in nature, that the goal of human life is realization of God or the real nature of the self. To attain this, one may follow any religion. It is this message that draws the world to this place. Every day, thousands of people pass by these shrines, yearning to experience the living presence of the pioneers of the Ramakrishna Movement. For them, these steps lead to the door behind which the glorious past breathes with life. The advent of Sri Ramakrishna forms an integral part of the 19th century Bengal Renaissance that saw a surge of socio-cultural movements, religious reforms and literary endeavors. It all started in this small village of Kamarpukur in the Hooghly district of Bengal. On February 18, 1836, a poor but pious Brahmin family was blessed with the birth of a son who was named Gadadhar. Years later, circumstances brought Gadadhar along with his elder brother to the temple of Mother Kali at Dakshineshwar. The calm and serene atmosphere was ideal for spiritual practices. Austere spiritual disciplines, including deep meditation, helped him to scale the heights of spiritual experiences. He successfully proved the existence of God in different religions and declared that it is the same God towards whom all are directing their steps, though along different paths. Religions differ in details. They are but paths to the same ultimate reality. In this way, Gadadhar turned into the great master, Sri Ramakrishna. More than 100-odd years have passed by since Dakshineshwar was graced by the living presence of Sri Ramakrishna. But in this room of the museum, time stands still. For someone who was concerned about the enlightenment of Indian women, it was no wonder that his consort, Sri Sarada Devi, emerged as the unseen guiding force behind the Ramakrishna movement. Hailing from a remote village of Joyrambati in Bengal and married to the spiritual giant at the tender age of 5, she was to become an embodiment of devotion, wisdom, and openness of mind. Undoubtedly, her divine temperament was inborn, but it was Sri Ramakrishna who groomed her as a partner. She became a source of great inspiration to the devotees, as well as a model of Indian womanhood. But the company was yet to be complete. Following the command of the Divine Mother, Sri Ramakrishna was awaiting the arrival of those disciples who were destined to carry on his mission. Among them was Narendranath Dotto, a brilliant young student coming from an aristocratic family of Calcutta. At the very first sight, Sri Ramakrishna discovered in him a true spiritual self, whose eyes revealed a unique power of introspection. This brave young man of action and thought was destined to be known the world over as Swami Vivekananda. Soon he was to lead this group of fiery youngsters who gathered at the Master's feet seeking nothing but the realization of the ultimate reality. Among them was Latu, a shepherd boy who had joined as a domestic help in a house in Calcutta. He represented the teeming millions of illiterate masses. He turned into a saint whose wisdom and enlightenment inspired everybody. Swami Brahmananda's spiritual experience and administrative acumen were an asset for the emerging organization. Swami Premananda was the personification of love and a great attraction for the young people. Swami Vivekananda was an engineer who turned into a saint of a high order. Together with the young came an illustrious group of elders. They included the celebrated author and dramatist Girish Chandra Ghosh, the reformer Keshab Chandra Sen, the educationist Oshini Dotto, Mahendranath Gupta, the author of the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, Mahendra Lal Sarkar, the scientist, and many others. But one day, in 1885, a pall of gloom descended on this room at Dakhineshwar. The Master lay seriously ill. For his treatment, he had to be shifted to this house at Shampukur in Calcutta, and thereafter to another one at Kashipur. It was the beginning of the end. This gallery of the museum is replete with the memories of the last days that Sri Ramakrishna spent at Kashipur. Under the mango tree, he revealed his divine identity and blessed the householder disciples in a moment of sheer ecstasy on January 1st, 1886. In spite of his physical suffering, the Master imparted training to his would-be monastic disciples. He chose Norin as the leader, and when he could hardly speak, he wrote on this piece of paper, "Norin will teach others." When Norin protested, the Master asserted, saying, "You must." On August 16, 1886, Sri Ramakrishna departed. But he left behind his wish for Narendranath to give form and shape to the monastic order that would propagate his message for the good of humanity. Began in this dilapidated house at Boranagar, but the condition of the disciples was quite worse. Loin and ochre cloth were the only pieces of clothing they had. After some time, they had this stack of books as their prized possession. But the spiritual quest went on, the inspiration being this writing of the Master. Everyone will get whatever he wants. That was the time when Narendranath was out to discover the roots of Indian culture. He embarked on a unique pilgrimage from Dakhineshwar to Almora and thereafter to Porbandar and Kanyakumari. Sitting on the southernmost tip of a rock at Kanyakumari, he assessed the nature of the problems that India faced and formulated some solutions. Thereafter, he ventured out to the west. The articles and artifacts associated with Swamiji during his travel are the treasured possessions of this museum. This was the attire in which the American audience saw him at the Parliament of Religions in Chicago in 1893. And this is a portion of the house of the Meade sisters at Pasadena, where he put up during his second trip to America. Numerous friends and admirers extended their helping hand. They included Professor Henry Wright, the Hale family, Captain and Mrs. Sevier, Max Muller, and many others. The celebrated author Romain Rolland wrote The Life of Ramakrishna and The Life and Gospel of Swami Vivekananda, the manuscripts of which are on display. On May 1st, 1897, the first meeting of the Ramakrishna mission was held. The rules were framed by Swamiji, and the methods of action were formulated. But first, they had to shift the mott from Alambazar to the garden house of Nilambur Mukherjee at Belur. Around this time, Miss Margaret Noble left her homeland in Europe and came over to serve in India. Swamiji engaged her for work among Indian women. At last, Swamiji's long-standing dream of establishing the Ramakrishna Mott and mission was about to be fulfilled. Their motto found expression in this emblem designed by Swamiji, which prescribes a synthesis of meditation, worship, study, and work for the members of the order. Today, as hundreds of visitors pass through the corridor of this museum, they walk through a glorious phase in history. It is hard to be here and not feel the living presence of the pioneers. Behind it lies an extensive effort towards maintenance and preservation of these mementos in the archives section. But many more relics remain in the personal possession of institutions, devotees, friends, and admirers. If these articles find their way to this museum, they would be preserved in the best possible way and displayed. They could also provide the missing links. And hopefully, sometime in the near future, this larger museum, with an even larger collection of relics, would bring to life the spiritual movement that remains a candle in the dark for generations to come.
Prabhu